This is The Portable Veblen by Elizabeth McKenzie. It was published in 2016 and I read it 2 or 3 years ago with my reading group. I really enjoyed this book. I'm surprised it's not better known. I'll give you an illustration of it by reading the back cover. It says, meet Veblen. She's an experienced cheerer-upper, mainly of her narcissistic, hypochondriac, controlling mother. An amateur translator of Norwegian and a passionate defender of the anti-consumerist views of her namesake, the economist Thorstein Veblen. She's also a firm believer in this distinct possibility that the plucky grey squirrel following her around can understand everything she says. Now meet her fiancé Paul, the son of good hippies who were bad parents, a no-nonsense, high-flying neuroscientist with no time for squirrels. His recent work on a device to minimise battlefield brain trauma has led him dangerously close to the seductive Cloris Hutmacher, heiress to a pharmaceuticals empire, who is promising him fame and fortune through a shady-sounding deal with the Department of Defence. What could possibly go wrong? That gives you a sense of the characters. It's a quirky book in some ways. The squirrel that she communicates with, obviously. Veblen is a really likeable major character. She's a dreamer. You're kind of concerned that she's going to get hurt. Paul, her fiancé, is a worry, but a kind of understandable character. You have some sympathy for him, but you worry about him getting sucked further and further into this very materialistic life offered him by the promise of great fortune. Here's what I wrote about it after I'd read it. I really enjoyed this, reading it mainly on a writing retreat. It's a satire on many topics: family relationships, the grotesque mother Melanie, narcissist, hypochondriac. She's especially brilliant. She is an amazing character, and she's kind of dreadful and funny, and one of the worst controlling mothers in literature that I've come across. It's also a satire on consumerism, on big pharma, and it has a lot to say about marriage as well. Veblen is working up to getting married and is kind of having doubts about it and questioning what she's doing, and also trying to become more enthusiastic about it again. So I wrote here, I had expected a quirky, modern tale along the lines of A Visit from the Goon Squad or When God Was a Rabbit, both of which I'd read around about the same time, and it left me a bit disappointed. But this one, The Portable Veblen, is excellent. She's a very sympathetic character, as I've said, confused, vulnerable, determined to be honest with herself. The plot gallops along. It's warm and witty, fantastical, but also richly human, and there's some beautiful poetic writing in it as well. Let me read you a little bit, just to give you a flavour of the writing. This is Veblen reflecting on a conversation, or an imagined conversation she's having with a squirrel who she's been watching in nature. I'll just find it. It was a beautiful night, all silver on the branches and leaves of the tall trees around her, and the ground glimmering as well. I think a person ought to go sit outside every night of their life. How can it be good for us to miss this? We stay all closed up in our houses with light bulbs. This is so beautiful, she said to herself. She dug her hands into the mulch around her and kept watch on the squirrel, who continued to cool himself in the creek, flicking his tail like a magnificent plume. It leads her to reminisce, and there's this lovely passage, I thought. It says, she went home and started to sing, I've just seen a face, he's just the squirrel for me, la 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 la. And she laughed to herself. It was madness, born of a surplus of feeling, that's all. As a girl, visiting a farm on a school trip, Veblen fed hardened corn cobs to a crowd of gnashing hogs and felt the terror of the tug of their mouths. She saw a calf being born, watched it licked by its mother into standing, and heard the busy cluck of chickens extruding their eggs. She survived a goose peck to the leg and combed the glorious mane of a mare. Indeed, the days seemed to portend a future so full of riches. On the school bus, coming back, she found herself bawling her eyes out. "I like that farm so much," she said, surprising her teacher, who only wanted to comfort her for something simple, like an earache or a scraped knee. A madness born of surplus of feeling. Finally, I'll just read you one of Veblen's more caustic comments. She says, "A wedding is the time and place to recognise the full clutch of the past in the negotiation of a shared future. Try devoting a few pages to that, Bride's Magazine."